Emirati Anna winning in Doha, the Dukan Sprint, just a day after Ouzo had made Saffie Osborne the first woman to ride a winner at Meydan. Something that, I've got to say, rather surprised me. Hopefully it will open the floodgates somewhat. Good morning.
Morning. Thank you very much for having me.
Not at all. Thanks for coming in. And I know that the end of last year was a source of huge frustration for you. I would imagine the beginning of this one sees you at your happiest.
Yeah, definitely. The end of last year was pretty annoying, I'm not going to lie. But yeah, you'd probably take all that sort of hardship over the winter to, come back and ride two nice horses like that.
You're quite good at putting a brave face on it in public. Just remind us exactly what the issue was.
I had a fall in Chelmsford in October and I ruptured the PCL in my knee. And yeah, I had to spend 3 months in a brace. I rode for 3 weeks afterwards and it was just becoming pretty apparent that it was never going to get any better. And I was just in a lot of pain and it's...
And did you know what you had done when you were riding on it?
No, I rode the next day and I think in the back of your mind you kind of know, but I thought I'd been landed on by a horse going a fair gallop, so I thought that if it didn't settle down after a couple of weeks I should probably start investigating on what's actually wrong. And no, Jerry Hill was great and sort of got really on top of it, and he allowed me to keep riding until I said no, I need to pull the plug because it was just not going to get any better. And I was looking at I knew Dad had sort of got some really nice horses to run in the Middle East, and it was either sort of pull the plug then and get better or sort of keep pushing and just making it worse, really. Now,
there was a specific reason why it was annoying you so much, target-wise, wasn't there? Because you had half an eye on 100, didn't you?
Yeah, look, it's a number that every jockey wants to achieve in a year, and I just had such a good sort of end, sort of August, September, that it was looking like it actually might have been possible if it had kept going how it was. And it's not the end of the world. Hopefully I've got plenty of years in front of me to try and achieve that. But it was frustrating at the time because everything was just going as well as it was.
Were you aware that no woman had ever ridden a winner at Meydan? I wasn't. It's slightly shameful, really, isn't it?
Yeah, I saw a few people had mentioned it to me a few weeks before Ouzo won, but no, I just presume that Hayley would have, or there's been plenty of girls that have ridden there. So it wasn't something that I really thought about that much, trying to ride a winner there, because I've grown up watching everyone ride winners there, and but it was afterwards it was quite a cool thing to do.
I noticed you talked about Toast of New York and when he was winning the UAE Derby there. I mean, it seems like yesterday to me, but you were pretty much still a kid then. Yeah,
I think he was probably one of the first horses that I actually really remember, like, everything about. And I was only 11 at the time when he won the UAE Derby, which sounds crazy. But I remember I didn't go to Dubai with Mum and Dad, and I remember watching it on the sofa at home, and it was
wishing
so
you
cool.
were in Dubai.
Yeah, I didn't really know any different there, so I was happy being at home. But it was. Yeah, I think it's really weird now to think that's 10 years on. So no.
Were you even then? Were you thinking about being a jockey?
Yeah.
At 10 or 11.
Yeah, I knew I wanted to ride, whether it was eventing or as a jockey. It was always going to be horses. And I think I had 3 older brothers that really had no interest in horses whatsoever. So I think my parents were slightly shocked, and it was always, oh no, you'll want to give up when you're 12 or when you're 14 or whatever. But it just stuck, and it was just always sort of horse pony obsessed, really. That
must be quite nice in a sense, because in your heart that it's self-driven rather than driven by any kind of external or parental pressure.
Yeah, definitely. I think Mum and Dad used to laugh that I literally used to drag them to like Lambourne show each year with the pony and try to get dragged around doing every class. So it was always pushed by me, and my parents were never like that. Whatever we all wanted to do, they were hugely supportive in that.
Ouzo, I enjoyed the commentary particularly because it sounded as though the commentator was saying Ouzo when it's all too late, then suddenly realised actually it wasn't too late, and you timed it just about to perfection. He was due one like that, wasn't he?
Yeah, it's amazing to think a horse that we've sort of struggled to win with for the last 2 years has now won 3 in a row, and I think he's now rated 107. He's the handicap has never been very kind to him, purely because he's just such a consistent horse. And I think sort of the step up and trip and riding him slightly more patiently, it's crazy to think, and I'm saying an 8-year-old might have improved, but he's definitely improved for different tactics. And yeah, he's hopefully a really nice horse to come back to Europe with this year.
And did you want to ride him? Like, did you want to ride him for luck and get him buried in and burrowing through the pack?
Yeah, definitely. When the rail's out that far, and I was drawn 3, it's a really hard place to come around them. I don't think I would have won if I was having to switch out and come around them, and it was just a case of trying to follow the right horse, and luckily managed to pick the right one to follow.
You look like you were having quite a good blow coming in there.
I don't know what you're trying to say.
Did you need the run?
No, of course not. No, I don't know what you're trying to say.
Well, no, you just look quite out of breath.
I was obviously
out of breath,
excited.
or was it just the
excitement, pure excitement?
Just a flush of excitement.
Flush of excitement, yeah.
I mean, I can't talk. I'll be out of breath running down the stairs. But
it was very hot, thank you.
Yeah, you see what I mean.
I'd go quite red in the face.
But,
you're probably making me quite red in the face now.
Your dad must have been pretty thrilled with this, but not as thrilled as he was with Emiratiana the next day. That was some reaction, and a good plan by the looks of it.
Yeah,
well executed.
I think so a lot of people probably thought he was quite silly paying 160 grand for a 7-year-old last year at the horse and training sale. But when you can find those races in the Middle East and pinpoint places where they can basically win back their purchase price, and he's done that in one run. He's a really cool horse that it's okay when you bought an older horse that he ran to a seriously good level the time before we bought him, and he's absolutely loves the game, and yeah, he's won back his purchase price in one run, basically.
Unbelievable, isn't it? I mean, when you sat on him, I mean, you sat on some pretty good horses, but does he still feel like a genuine top-notch sprinter?
Yeah, I've never ridden a Group 1 sprinter, but I remember when he had his prep run at Meydan for this race, and I got off and I said, I don't think I've ever ridden a horse that fast in my life. I remember we were absolutely trapping at Meydan, and I was still sort of cantering in behind them. And I think in Qatar, like, if I wasn't drawn as where I was, I would have ideally liked to have been able to follow one just to get him to settle a bit better. But and I think he probably would have finished a bit better then as well. And sort of that would definitely be the tactics going forward. But no, he's done it well.
And yeah, you say 170,000 he cost?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you say it's crazy to pay that for a 7-year-old, but this is a horse who was still running in Group 1 races last year. It's not that long ago that he was finishing third in a Nunthorpe to the Highfield Princess and winning the Haydock Sprint Cup and all the rest of it. Yeah,
it's crazy to think sort of I think it was 2022 that he was just beating a Breeders' Cup Sprint. So, no, he's a horse with a huge amount of ability, and he seems to retain a lot of it.
He enjoyed that, didn't he?
Yeah. That's the time when I didn't get to ride him. I'm trying to look happy, but there was a bit of agony in behind.
Oh, this is Uzo. This is Uzo when you didn't ride him.
Yeah, I didn't ride him. There's me still.
I think this came from the Jamie Osborne looking delighted library. We've clearly got a file of it. It's a slim file, but admittedly, but yeah.
Yeah, no, yeah, it was pretty annoying to miss that, but yeah, it was a couple of weeks before I was allowed to start riding again, so no, I felt like he owed me that one in Meydan.
Now, are you adapting to the highs and lows of the game better now, do you think, given that you've had a couple of quite annoying and painful spells on the sidelines?
Yeah, definitely. I think even just your everyday sort of ups and downs, like riding losers and getting beat on favourites and stuff like that, and it's probably something I didn't deal very well with to start with. I was probably too volatile to say, and I sort of let the sort of results and stuff like that affect my mood and affect sort of probably the way I rode as well. And no, I think I'm 4 years into my career now, and it's something that I've learned to deal with, I think, pretty well now. I'd say I'm pretty level, whatever happens. And I think even sometimes when I go home and I've had a good winner or something, Mum will come back and she's like, "Oh, you're not happy?" And I just try to stay as level as possible, not let really anything get me too high or too down, because it's pretty much the only way of dealing with it. Because everyone knows how quickly your fortunes can change in this game, and I think if you're too up and down, then it sort of starts to affect you.
People talk about jockeys needing to rest and take time, and it strikes me, talking to you a little bit, that you'd actually be quite happy going 24/7 and working every hour that God sends.
Yeah,
you're in that slot in your life.
Yeah, definitely. I'm nearly 22, and I think if you can't be doing that at this age, then you never will. And yeah, if it wasn't for injury, I would never have been stopping riding at the end of last year. I was hoping to go to Australia and then to the Middle East. So yeah, I think at this point in my life, I want to take every opportunity that I can get. And yeah, it's just slightly annoying at the end of last year that I couldn't do that.
Yeah, sure. So how are you going to balance out the rest of the winter until the sort of turf season proper gets going?
I'm riding here, and I think, yeah, it's been a bit slow back at home, but it's quite hard when you haven't been riding all winter. People sort of slot into positions that you might have on the all-weather, and yeah, I can't expect to be sort of coming back and jockeying everyone off the rides that they've been riding all winter. And between Dad and Ed Walker, who are my two main supplier of rides, they haven't been running lots of horses, which is exciting in the way because there's so many horses, so many nice horses as well to sort of get going with. And I'm in Dubai next week for Super Saturday, and luckily Emirati Anna has got an invitation for the Alquoz, so yeah, I'll be back there for World Cup.
Okay, and do you think, on what you felt the other night, that he can step forward again and maybe get back to something like what we were seeing towards the back end of 2 years ago?
Yeah, massively. As I said, I didn't ride him the way I wanted to ride him in Qatar, and I think after watching that video again, he was pretty revvy early. I would have rathered have a horse to follow, and I think, yeah, he thrives on a bit of confidence and passing horses. So I'd like to think that riding him slightly differently and another run under his belt will bring out that improvement.
So that Group 1 success could be not that far away.
Yeah, God knows, but yeah, that's always something that's in the back of your mind. We've been lucky to have a couple of group winners so far, and yeah, it'd be a cool one to tick off.
What is next for Random Harvest? Is she still around? No.
No, she's retired. She'll be having a baby.
Okay, but she was a great servant to you.
Yeah, unbelievable. I first rode her as a £3 claimer at Royal Ascot in a handicap, and to think that day she was off of 80, 83, 84, and she finished her career near 110. And what she did for my career was unbelievable. She was the first horse that I was getting to ride in better races on a Saturday, and no, I was just, especially at that point in my career, in those better races, it could have been very easy for Ed Walker and Lady Bamford to look elsewhere for a sort of more experienced jockey to ride her, and they were very good to me to leave me on her, and it really sort of helped my career sort of take it up a notch.
Yeah, I mean, last time you were here, you were already doing well, but you were sort of saying, you know, you felt that you were riding races well, but that you needed to ally sort of greater strength to that. Do you feel you've done that?
Yeah, I think I was last on here with you after the Chester Cup, and it's amazing what one race can do for your profile. And I'd say it was probably the first time people actually watched me ride and thought, she can actually ride.
Do you think so? Do you think that's the first time you felt that's the first time you got some genuine recognition?
Yeah, probably, because it was. I think I hadn't had that many opportunities in better races, and I think it was probably a combination of things. Like, I've just moved to Tony Hind. The Chester Cup was massive, just the manner that the horse had won it in, and I just seemed to piggyback off of a lot of things from then. And then sort of Random Harvest and everything like that came quite soon after. So it just all seemed to just come at the right time. And it was amazing what one thing can do for your profile, really.
It's interesting. I'm wondering whether you, and I'm not trying to put words in your mouth, but whether you were thinking that actually the attention that you'd had up to that was kind of around the periphery almost, that, you know, you were Jamie Osborne's daughter, you'd had a very successful eventing career, you were doing quite well. There's an element of the new, somebody different, somebody interesting, another woman making their way in the sport, all that sort of thing, and then that is suddenly replaced, or to the forefront comes, here's a ride of real tactical acumen and getting recognised for what you want to get recognised for.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's always, I think to start with, there's probably people believe there's a lot of nepotism involved in your story, and I think it's something that I always probably played down to start with. I always wanted people to talk about me as if I was my own person. I wasn't Jamie Osborne's daughter, and I think in doing that, I probably downplayed all the help that Dad did give me, because I wanted people to see that I could do it on my own. And yeah, I think there, again, as you said, there was probably a lot of talk around the periphery about what I'd done when I was 15, 16, eventing and stuff like that, and not what I was actually doing now. And yeah, I think I've always just wanted people to say, oh, Saffie Osborne, she's a great jockey, not Saffie Osborne, she's Jamie Osborne's daughter.
Who rides quite nicely.
Yeah, who rides nicely.
Yeah.
No one wants to be called nice, do they?
No. Well, no. It's not a bad starting point, but yeah, no, I know what you mean. As far as that, you know, goal-based approach to your career, has that changed at all?
I think I've always when I started riding, I didn't really want to set myself that many goals, purely because I wasn't delusional. When I started riding, I didn't think I was good enough, and I wasn't. And I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, I should have got so many more opportunities earlier, because I don't think I should have.
But I mean, did you not think you were good enough because you just didn't think that you quite had it yet, or just were you thinking, I'm not actually going to make this, I'm not good enough to do this? No,
I always thought I had a chance of making it, because I've always believed I'm not a very talented person, but I've always believed that I work really hard at something until I get to where I want to be. And I wasn't delusional. I've grown up watching racing, I've grown up watching the best jockeys in the world. When I watched myself starting riding, I wasn't going, yeah, that's what I want to look like. I looked at everyone else and thought, no, that's what I want to look like. And I always said I wanted, and it sounds crazy, like it's a weird thing to say, but I always wanted to ride like a boy, because I grew up watching the best male jockeys in the world, and that's what I wanted to ride like. And I just, yeah, worked really hard until I got to a point. I'm not exactly where I want to be yet, but I feel like I'm getting to where I want to be riding-wise.
Do you think that idea has changed? So if somebody was coming through, 15, 16-year-old girl now, watching you riding against predominantly males, do you think they would still think that? Do you think they would still think, I want to ride like a boy? Or do you think now there is less of that obvious delineation between the way men are perceived to ride and the way women are perceived to ride?
Probably not. Like I would like to think now no one would watch me and say she's not strong enough. It's something that I really worked on, and especially last year, that I would hope that you wouldn't watch me in a race now and pick me out as the girl. I think obviously growing up there was Hayley to watch, but now there's so many more girls, and yeah, if I was growing up watching Holly and all of them, I probably might have been a different story.
Who did you grow up thinking, yeah, that looks good?
Frankie and Ryan, really. They were, God, even sort of Mick Cannan, See the Stars. I think he was the first. Also, I remember Dad coming back from Arcana one year with the See the Stars DVD with all his races. And I remember sitting there and watching it on repeat. And yeah, probably watching him was one of the main ones.
Okay. And as far as this year is concerned, how's it going to be looking in terms of the way you divide your time, who you work for, where you're based, who you're riding out for? What are you going to do?
I ride out for as many people as I can, but predominantly Ed Walker and Dad. Ed's got a really, really strong team of horses this year, and as is Dad, Ian Barrett and Claire Barrett have invested in some really nice horses for the up-and-coming year for Dad, and yeah, Ed's got a really exciting team, so yeah, those are my two main shots.
And you were saying last year you were going to try and broaden those contacts into Newmarket. Is that still happening?
Yeah, I ride out for James Ferguson quite a bit, and last year I was starting to go into some Michael Stouts and Michael Bells as well. So no, it's yeah, I've bought a house in Newmarket, so I can spend more time there. And
do you spend any time in it?
I haven't spent much time on it so far. I've only been spending much time on aeroplanes at the minute, but yeah, no, hopefully I'll get to spend some time
Anything
there.
in the fridge apart from the light at the moment?
No, someone bought me a bottle of champagne when I moved in.
Funny that.
And no, it's still there unopened.
So just an unopened bottle of champagne and the light.
Yeah, exactly.
In the fridge. Tell me, when you reflect on what you've been achieving recently in the Middle East, do you think that riding internationally can actively enhance people's opinion of what you can do here?
Yeah, massively. I think it gets a lot of publicity, and I think that probably helps. But I think riding in different countries at different tracks, you gain a lot of experience, and I think people probably look at it. I think there's not much going on really on the flat at home, so it does probably draw attention to that a bit, yeah.
And you're someone who thinks carefully about the game as well as doing your job day to day. When you read about the situation the sport is in Great Britain, can you maintain optimism that you can carve a good career here? Because you're, as you say, 22. This could be 20 years.
God, that's a long time.
And beyond. Yeah, because 42 is really old.
Feels it right now. Yeah, it's a hard place for the sport to be in. I think when I reflect on the amount of, I know I've had a good week or so, but the amount of prize money that I've earned in the space of a week, even being in Saudi on Friday for the Jockey Challenge, I didn't come close to riding a winner. Mm-hmm. And I still had an unbelievable evening's work money-wise. And I think, yeah, I don't know how the UK can change that, because it's sad, because we have the best horses, the best racing, the most prestigious races in the world, and to think that you've got sort of much smaller races running in the Middle East, running for a lot more money is yeah, it's a tricky spot to be in.
Frankie Dettori said the other day, didn't he, that if he was a young jockey now, there's no way that he would start his career here, which I thought was quite a sad indictment, given what a great life and career he's had out of racing in this country. Yeah,
exactly. And I think it'd be very easy for a lot of young jockeys to look elsewhere, to America, to Australia, to wherever really. But I think the thing that sort of keeps you here is the prestige of the racing. Everyone that grows up wanting to be a jockey wants to win the Derby, wants to win a classic and all that stuff, and that can only be done here really. And yeah, I think there's a lot of, I think there's probably quite a lot of pride involved in people staying here as well, that you want to achieve all this stuff at home really.
You know as well as I do that being with Tony Hind and with a fair crack of the whip and a good following breeze, he could nearly make you champion jockey. I mean, you laugh, but you get a bit of momentum going. Yeah. And it's not beyond the bounds of possibility.
No, I think if you're not a jockey and saying you don't want to, if you're saying you don't want to be champion jockey one day, I don't think you should be riding really. I think everyone should want to be champion jockey, and Tony Hind's reputation of doing that is pretty incredible. And
what does he say to you? Because he's an interesting character. He's been on the show.
Yeah. No, it's obviously, I think with everyone on his books, I think if you are on his books, you all want to be champion jockey. And I think sort of you've got Jim who's done it, Ryan's obviously done it, Will's done it. So there's a few of us left on there that haven't been champion jockey yet, and hopefully I've got some time to try and get to that point and achieve that.
But what kind of relationship do you have with an agent, and how important are they, not just in terms of booking rides, but also shaping the way you think about developing your career?
Massive. I think he's filled me with a lot of confidence, and probably on the outside I'm not someone that looks like I'd need it, but I think yeah, before last year I probably did doubt myself quite a lot, and yeah, last year was the first year that I really didn't, and he probably has a massive role to play in that. But trust him implicitly with where I'm going, what I'm riding, and him to make judgments on where I'm going for the best rides. And yeah, he very, very rarely gets it wrong.
That's the second time you've hinted at that you feel that you're projecting, you maybe project an image that isn't necessarily reflective of what you're really feeling.
I think I really feel like that now. I feel like I ride with a lot of confidence now, and I feel like I have a lot of confidence. But as I said, like I wasn't as good as I wanted to be, and I probably portrayed the fact that I thought it was all going well, but it's sort of like, isn't it like the image of the swan when it's sort of gliding along the top of the water and the legs going very fast underneath? Like, I was working extremely hard to try and get better and get to the point that I wanted to be. And yeah, I'd say last year was the first year that I felt like I deserved my place in those better races. I think slightly before I probably felt like I was, I don't know, maybe, not that I wasn't ready for it, but that I was, yeah, probably sort of, I think, looking at all these like amazing top-class jockeys going, I'm the odd one out here. But last year was probably the first year that I really didn't feel like that. Well,
I don't know, perhaps in time you'll come back on the sofa and say, I'm the odd one out, but in an entirely good way, because you are standing out. For the moment, Saffie Osborne, thank you so much.
No, thank you for having me.
Subscribe to Racing TV's YouTube channel now to watch more great races like this.